Today I am proud to announce the official recommended book list of 2020. This is going to be epic. As always, I would like to remind you that entries for the Seth Commercial-a-thon will be due by the end of the month. Please leave your business's name in the YouTube comments, and I will make them a free video. Now, I am going to do as so many talk show hosts have done before me, and give you my recommended book list for 2020. So, here they are, starting with the modern literature. The Modern Gems section, looking for something new. Number 1, Yann Martel's The Life of Pi. I believe that this book is the best of its decade. It tells the story of Pi and how he's stranded out on a boat for months with a tiger. And it leaves you off wondering what's real and what's not. It has some important things to say about religion. But for me, this is a 4-star story, and there is some disturbing imagery, but I think that only enhances the experience, and I don't think it ever gets above a PG-13 rating. I would recommend this for everyone. Number 2, It, by Stephen King. I have an apology to make. I have stated before that I think Stephen King's book, It, is an example of clown racism. And after reading the book, which was hard to do, it wasn't a 1,000-page book about a killer clown, I found that it was nothing like that. And indeed, it was one of the best books that I've ever read. But let me explain. There were some things I didn't like about it, a lot of style choices that I'm not a fan of. For instance, pop culture references all over the place. And they're not kind of pop culture references you're going to understand, and you get confused when you're reading them. But I get why he did it. He wanted a sort of normal speech pattern. I wouldn't have done it. I would have just sacrificed that. But he has his own reasons, I guess. And this is, I don't know if this is the best horror book I've ever read. I think Frankenstein would be, but it is the scariest. It's the scariest book. And what's a better compliment than that? And if you're wondering what it's about a killer clown that attacks children. So it's R. It's very dark. It's very disturbing. Very, very disturbing. Very disturbing. Number 3, The Book Thief, by Marcus Zusak. I have to be careful how I recommend this book, because this is meant for a certain group of people. But in order to tell you what group of people that is, I have to spoil things. So I'm going to say this, that this is an emotionally intense book. And if you're not ready for that, then you won't want to read it. But it's about this little girl who is in Germany, and it's during World War II, and it is intense. I will say that, but I liked it. I thought it had a beautiful message, and it's one of those stories that give you faith in humanity even when it's the most trying of times. Number 4, The One-Way Bridge, by Kathy Pelletier. Whenever I do these book lists, I want to pick one that comes from an unknown author. And that's hard to do because it's hard to find those people. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that would beat a lot of these books on this list who created masterpieces. You just don't know about them. But my choice for this one is The One-Way Bridge by Kathy Pelletier. And this book is like an Andy Griffith Show episode. And it's not a perfect book. I wouldn't give it 4 stars. I'd give it like 3.5. But it is heartwarming. It is dirty. It's not for kids. I'd go ahead and give it an R, but maybe you could argue for a PG-13. But I like it because it just reminds me of sitting down and watching the Andy Griffith Show. And there's a few parts that are a little predictable, but all in all, I think this writer deserves some credit, and I'm going to be the one that gives it to her. I'm sure she'll really enjoy that, getting credit from some unknown YouTuber. But I love you, Kathy Pelletier, wherever you are. The Public Domain section, I created this part so that people that don't have money can read these books online at the library. Number 5 on Her Majesty's Secret Service by Ian Fleming. I have read all of the James Bond books, and my favorite is On Her Majesty's Secret Service. It was a close one, though. I almost chose Live and Let Die. But one thing that's always said about the James Bond books compared to the James Bond movies is that they're more gritty and realistic than the films. That is not true. These books can get silly. There's this scene where James Bond takes down a giant squid with a lighter and a knife. But this one is big adventure, ski fights, there's scenes of hypnosis, which are weird but also really cool. And this is the one I would recommend if you want to read James Bond. Number 6, The Jungle Tales of Tarzan by Edgar Rice Burroughs. Whenever I make one of these lists, I want to choose a book that I highly recommend to you all. And my choice for this list is The Jungle Tales of Tarzan by Edgar Rice Burroughs. You wouldn't think Tarzan deserves any more credit than he already has, but I think this book is underrated. It was the 6th book, and no one was expecting much of it. But it was hands down the best one. It is one of my favorite adventure stories, if not my favorite adventure story. And it's one of the few short story collections I've ever come across where there wasn't a single story that wasn't good. The only other one I can think of is Oscar Wilde's Fairy Tales. But it's about Tarzan living in the jungle, learning how to be a man, learning about God, and it is beautiful. I will say this, there may be some racist undertones, but the Tarzan books were anti-racist. In fact, one of the things that Edgar Rice Burroughs did was, in the first book, he made it seem like Tarzan had this racist agenda that he was trying to kill off all the Africans. But by the second book, he learns from his mistake, and they become his family. It's a beautiful message and done very well. You wouldn't know that from reading the first book. It was a growth thing. You have to read the second one. I've seen a lot of internet sites just assume from the first book that the Tarzan books must be racist. That's not how it goes down. But, yes, this is one that you need to read. If you read none of the other books in this list, read this one. Number 7, The Treasure of the Sierra Madre by B. Travins. A lot of people know about the movie, The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, but few people know about the book, and the book is as much of a classic as the movie. It's about these 3 guys that go out into the desert searching for gold, but they end up getting tortured by the environment, by the work, and they have to figure out a way to survive. But I think that this book is one of my favorite adventure stories, not counting the Jungle Tales of Tarzan. It has so many good twists and turns, and I don't know if you'll find it easily in the public domain, but if you can, it's definitely something you should check out. Number 8, And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. If I were to pick my favorite mystery book, it would be a toss-up between The Hound of the Baskerville and Then There Were None. But my in-choice would be And Then There Were None. This is a perfect mystery book, and it's a big mystery book. That's why I choose it over The Hound of the Baskerville. It takes a lot of chances, and they all work out. One thing I like about it is that it is possible that this could happen. It's not likely. I think it would take a lot of luck, but, I mean, it is conceivable. The second thing I like about it is it's so intriguing. It's a bunch of people in this house, and they keep getting murdered off one by one according to this racist poem. And the third thing I like about it is you're never going to guess who did it at the end, or at least it's not likely. I suppose it is possible. But, hey, what else can I say? It's my favorite mystery book. Number 9, The Voyages of Dr. Dolittle by Hugh Lofting. I wanted to choose a book that was kid-friendly for this list, and this is my choice. A certain bad movie has given Dr. Dolittle a bad rap. Well, it might be a bad movie. I haven't watched it, so I'm not going to say. But if you ignore that, Dr. Dolittle would be great for TV and movies. He's such a good person. That's what I love about this book. Dolittle is so sweet. And he goes off on adventures with this boy to all these islands. And it's fun and it's sweet. And it's the kind of book I wish I could have read as a kid. And maybe uh, that's the best praise I can give it. It's really good. Number 10, Don Quixote by Miguel Cervantes. And I don't think I have to say too much about this book. You all know it's one of my favorite novels ever written. I think it's better than anything else. It's about Don Quixote, who thinks he's a knight and goes off on all of these adventures with his friend Sancho. And the great thing about this story is you can pick it up at any point and get an idea of what's going on. You can read 10 pages of this and it'll be the best experience of your life. Or at least I think so. I'm sure there's people that somehow don't like this story. But it is regarded as the greatest book ever written, so that's one reason to read it. And I will say that I am going to do a movie list next time. And I have so many plans for the future. I'm going to do another paranormal investigator. I'm going to do another how-to. And I'm going to do another Radcliffe is a Unicorn episode if I can get to it. I'm nervous about them all, but there are some exciting things in store on almost every